Now, one way to think about it is if you give some people a certain task, and if almost all of them are able to complete that task, is the pitch are you pitching the lesson at the right level, right? And again, the pitch is in relation to what the goals of the problem you're trying to solve. If the problem, and like I said, the problem is recognition of criteria, then the pitch is, and people were able to recognize the criteria, then I think the lesson, one could argue the lesson may not be at the right pitch. But if the problem was, they're not able to actually perform the criteria or use the criteria in their writing, then maybe the lesson was at the right level. So, but again, the problem of pitch is related to the idea of scaffolding. And I want to just spend a couple of minutes here to talk about this. And there are two concepts here. One is the zone of proximal development, and the other one is scaffolding. You probably have heard both of them, so I'll go through quickly. So what is the zone of proximal development? It's actually this hypothetical or metaphorical zone between the actual development level and the level of potential development. So what you can do independently and what you can do with some help, right? And it's that zone. So if you think about it, there are certain things that students have already achieved previously. They can read, they can write to a certain degree, they can recognize words, and so on and so forth. Now, if you pitch the lesson at that level, the task is too easy, And then there's a current level of the student that they can perform independently, certain task. Then there's a level of students that they can only achieve with guidance. So if you're in this yellow zone, you could potentially perform or complete the task, but you would need guidance for it. And then there are certain things that the student cannot achieve even with guidance. They're just not there yet, right? So the whole idea of ZPD is that any lesson design, you've got to focus right in this yellow zone where the task has to be sufficiently challenging so that most students are unable to complete the task without guidance, right? Now, if everybody's able to do it without guidance, then the task is too easy. You're not in the zone of proximal development. So whenever you're designing the lesson, ask yourself, based on what students actually do. So it's data driven, basically. Based on what students actually do, is the task in the zone of proximal development or not, right? And there, again, this conversation or this thinking about whether the task is within the ZPD depends on the learning problem that you're trying to solve here.